And joining us now to talk vegans and vegetarians, on the line from Miami, Florida, Lisa Dorfman, Director of Sports Nutrition and Performance at the University of Miami's Health Department of Sports Medicine. Lisa, it's good to have you on the line. How are you tonight?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your show, Steve.
Not at all. I think people probably use the terms vegan and vegetarian interchangeably, but obviously they mean something different. Why don't you clarify for us what that is?
Yeah, there's about 7 different types of vegetarians. There's the flexitarian, who sometimes includes meat, chicken. There's the pesco-vegetarian that includes fish. There's the plant-based lacto-ovo-vegetarian that includes milk products and egg products. And then the separate of those, the lacto-vegetarian, the ovo-vegetarian. And then those who do not include any animal products whatsoever and often don't wear animal products are known as the vegans. So they are the strictest of the vegetarian types.
So would no animal products whatsoever include no eggs?
That's true. They primarily eat vegetables, fruits, beans, grains, oils, seeds, and nuts, but absolutely no animal protein.
Now, another follow-up from your first thing. How can you be what did you call it, a flexitarian? How do you be a vegetarian and still have meat? That doesn't sound on the surface like it makes sense.
Well, one of my dear colleagues here in the United States just wrote a book, The Flexitarian Diet, and she was very creative, and it was from a personal note that she said that she had tried to adhere to this vegetarian diet for so many years, but every once in a while at a cookout or she'd include meat, but for the most part she was a vegetarian. So I don't know that she coined the term flexitarian to refer to these types of vegetarians, but I kind of like the terminology. And you know, a lot of people can't adhere to one commitment to food or a food program like that all the time. So they're known as the flexitarians in my book.
That sounds like a little bit pregnant, though. I didn't think you could be a little bit pregnant. I mean, either you're a vegetarian or you're not. Isn't that the case?
Well, again, we have the pesco-vegetarians that include fish. I'm a lacto-ovo-vegetarian since I'm 15. So yes, I'm a vegetarian, but I do include eggs and dairy products. So I'm not the strictest, although most of my diet is plant-based.
Shame on me for being so judgmental. I have to just tone it down a little bit here. Tell me, first of all, what is the most common reason why people go vegetarian to begin with?
You know, Steve, there are several reasons why people become vegetarians. It could be for health reasons. You know, their doctor told them they needed to lose weight or reduce their cholesterol levels or their blood pressure. It might be that they grew up in a vegetarian household, or their religion, if they're a Seventh-day Adventist, might dictate that they are vegetarian according to their family tradition and culture. And probably the biggest reason these days, most common, is that people are feeling very uncomfortable, let's say, with the meat supply and animal supply and food safety, and then there's this sort of environmental sort of, let's take care of our planet so our kids and our kids' kids will, you know, have a healthy place to live in many decades to come.
Do we not need meat in our diet, though, to be as healthy as possible?
You know, Steve, I grew up on meat. My mom was from Austria, and where she is from, you eat meat every single day of your life. And until I was 15 years old, I ate meat every single day of my life. Well, Dad retired, he came home, had high blood pressure and high cholesterol, and went on what was known at the time as the Pritikin program, which was a vegetarian-based program. And this Mr. Pritikin, not even a doctor, designed this program for people who had health issues. He himself had health issues. So it was kind of overnight that I became a vegetarian. And so while meat was personally probably good for me while I was in, you know, the growing years, as an adult and throughout my adult years as a mom of 3, Ironman triathlete, professional triathlete, competitive athlete, it's worked for me the rest of the time. So it's been a long time because I've got several decades beyond 15 years old. So you know, for the adult years, at least in my life, it's worked. I have not missed meat at all.
Are there people, though, who should not attempt to become vegetarians for whatever reason?
There are definitely people who should be more cautious about changing their lifestyle or eating habits that dramatically. People with health issues should certainly check with their doctor or dietitian. Dietitians of Canada have a website that you could go to and to find a dietitian that specializes in vegetarianism. So any kind of health problem, and although vegetarian diets are absolutely safe and healthy for pregnant women and children, you should still check to see if it's appropriate for, for the way you're growing or the type of pregnancy that you're having. And probably number 3, if you're a picky eater, this whole vegetarian thing is not going to work for you, because you have to kind of explore. You have to be open to trying new foods. Foods that sometimes look like your old and favorite meat products, bacon, and things like this. And it's important to learn how to acquire a taste and enjoy those foods, because they make up the variety that you have to come to know and love to be a healthy vegetarian.
And I presume if you're really serious about this, all of the really fun, terrible food for you that's got fat, sugar, and salt is off limits. Is that right?
No, but you do find a lot of vegetarians eating French fries and white flour products and very sugary bars that they think are healthy because they're organic. And so you'll find a whole segment of the vegetarian community really not eating a very healthy vegetarian diet at all. So yes, it's possible, but it's not desirable or recommended.
I'm somewhat comforted by that information. I probably shouldn't be, but there you go. Tell me what the most common mistake is that when people make the decision to become vegetarians that they make.
Well, I think, number 1, they're not educated. They haven't read up. They haven't logged on to a website that could, guide them with their food choices and eating habits. They haven't been properly evaluated by their doctor or registered dietitian to know that, are they really a candidate for this vegetarian stuff? And what kinds of foods should they include in their diet? And number 3, again, those picky eaters, they have no business being in this vegetarian world because it's limited to begin with. And so you have to be very adventurous. Back in the day when I became a vegetarian, there were basically bread products, beans, peas. It was really limited. Now we have thousands of products. In fact, there's conventions all over the world just for vegetarianism and vegetarian products. So there's plenty to choose from, but if you're not going to be open to trying these foods, getting variety in your diet, and it's not an economic issue, and we're in such hard economic times. It's actually more economical to be a vegetarian. But again, that variety is absolutely key.
Well, this may be a bit of a simple question, but is it hard to do?
Yes and no. It is hard to do without the resources. And so again, buy a great book on vegetarian eating, buy an RD. Again, you want somebody legitimate, not somebody that's kind of biased in their vegetarian viewpoint. You could also go online. The American Dietetic Association and the Dietitians of Canada have a position statement on vegetarian diets that you could look up and look for some of the things that you need to be aware of as you're sort of venturing out into the vegetarian lifestyle. And I think that you also have to be open to sort of not being either black or white. There are, prepared frozen vegetarian products you could get. You can live in a normal world. You can maybe compromise, making everything homemade. It'll just make it easier to get through the day with a variety of choices if they're prepackaged sometimes.
Understood. Lisa, you've got the Food and Drug Administration down where you are, and up here we have something called Health Canada. And I want to read you an excerpt from Health Canada's website on what their recommendations are on some of these issues we're talking about. Most fish, the website says, contain some of the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce these words, but basically EPA and DHA. Recent evidence has suggested that fish consumption and the associated intake of EPA and DHA from fish can help maintain healthy heart function. Consumption of fish has also been associated with reduced risk of sudden cardiac death in healthy people, and there is evidence that regular consumption of fish by pregnant women and women who may become pregnant plays a role in normal fetal brain and eye development. So the Canadian Food Guide recommends eating at least 2 Food Guide servings of fish each week. And I guess I want to know if you are a vegetarian who won't eat fish, or a vegan, of course, who has that as a prohibition on their diet, how do you get the same nutrients that fish has without eating fish?
Yeah, well, you're talking specifically about omega-3, and omega-3 you can find in plant-based products. You could find it in soy. You could find it in nuts, especially almonds and pistachios and walnuts. You could find it in fortified products. There's a number of fortified products on the market these days. And that's another thing, Steve. You can't, I guess, be fearful of having foods that have fortification or omega-3 added, because omega-3 is an essential fatty acid. You must eat it. We do not get it. We don't make it in our bodies. So it's absolutely critical that you could get it. And, thirdly, you could always take a supplement. And, sometimes we have to supplement our diets to meet all our daily needs.
Well, I was going to follow up on that. If you're a vegan or a vegetarian, would you recommend that people spend the extra money to take those supplements to get those things that you wouldn't get in your food?
I absolutely recommend supplementation when people have deficiencies or demonstrate consistent deficiencies in their diet. And omega-3s are critical because, like I said, they're essential. We must get them on a daily basis. We do not make them in our body. So yes, I do recommend supplementation.
Now, this question is especially good for you because, as you were telling me before we went on, you are the nutritionist to 400 high-powered athletes at the University of Miami. And this issue got some currency up here in Canada recently because one of the biggest, toughest, meanest, strongest hockey players for the Montreal Canadiens, a guy named Georges Laraque, who is a very tough guy, big fighter, he's a vegan. And
Right.
I wonder how wise it is for a professional athlete who has to go through what he has to go through to do what he does to be a vegan.
Well, as I said to you before, I was a professional triathlete for 6 years. I've been a competitive runner and triathlete for more than 25 years. I have never had a health issue. And it occurred to me, it was in 2000, I had a book published called The Vegetarian Sports Nutrition Guide, which actually profiled 17 Olympian and world-class athletes. Everything from skating to football to swimming, almost every sport represented, with one Olympian or world-class athlete that pulled this vegetarian thing off. Again, the athletes in the book had a varied diet. They met their protein needs. Being vegan, you have to be particularly careful. You talked about the omega-3s. Vitamin B12 is another vitamin that you must get through food and you must get through animal products. Unless something is fortified, you will need to supplement if you are a vegan athlete. So, it's really meeting your calorie needs, which every athlete needs to do, meeting your protein needs by consuming enough rich protein products. And it's kind of nice these days because foods are fortified with protein. So it's not hard to meet your protein needs. You only need about half of your body weight in pounds a day as a starting place. For you, it's 1 gram per kilogram body weight. Most people need, when you're an athlete, you might need double. Not hard to meet. It's just a matter of getting the variety in the diet, getting enough calories and enough protein. And there's no reason why anybody can't be a healthy vegetarian.
Lisa, I'm going to give you a little pushback on this because this guy is not a swimmer and he's not a javelin thrower. He beats people up for a living. That's his job, to go out there 82 games a year and probably get into a fight every single night. And he can really get the kind of strength requirements he needs without ever having eggs or meat or fish. It can be done.
The position statement by the American Dietetic Association and the Dietitians of Canada actually highlight how vegetarian diets are higher in carbohydrates. Obviously, carbohydrates are our immediate energy fuel. Those hockey players need lots and lots of carbohydrates. Higher in antioxidants, which protect the cells of our system from breaking down. fibers, which keep our GI tract fit, minerals like magnesium and zinc. And so you do not have to be deficient when you're a vegetarian athlete. In fact, you can actually excel in spite of it.
In our last minute here, tell me this. I presume you think that this is a good way of life, a healthy lifestyle that people should undertake. If they do, how long will it take before they start to notice, before they start to really feel different after becoming either vegans or vegetarians?
Well, my answer to that is immediately. You will feel the benefits immediately. You will sleep better, go to the bathroom better, have more energy throughout the day. 20% of our fluid intake comes from foods like fruits and vegetables, so you'll be better hydrated, which is really important for us here in Miami, for you in the summertime, obviously. So I think immediately, but I don't preach and convert. My whole family is are meat eaters, chicken eaters. I do not convert others. It's not for everybody, but if you do make the choice, I promise you, you will have a very full and rich, nutritious life with a varied, healthy vegetarian diet.
That's Lisa Dorfman, Director of Sports Nutrition and Performance, University of Miami, and we're grateful you could join us on the line from Miami, Florida tonight. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Steve.